Well, welcome today. We're talking about heroes, leadership, and Russ Wilson and all that has to do on Pastors on Pop. I'm Matt Manning. I'm here with James. Welcome, James, to another edition of our awesome podcast.
Thanks, Matt. It's good to be with you again. Hey, so I thought it'd be fun for us to kick this off as we talk about heroes, for us to kind of rapid fire generally in our life growing up and even today, like who comes to mind when you think of heroes?
Yeah, now when we rapid fire, is this like strict rapid fire rules, or do I get to explain why my answer happened?
Oh, yeah.
Explain why?
There's no rules.
All right, good. Well, I just want to make sure that we're playing within the rules. So how about you go first? What's one of your heroes?
Hero number one, Bob Iger. The old CEO of Disney when they were a good company.
Great. Hero number one for me, this is going back from when I was a kid, is Mark Messier. So Mark Messier was the captain of the New York Rangers. Colorado didn't have a team yet when it came to hockey. So I was a Ranger fan, and Mark Messier today at 60 years old looks like he could still put the gear on and go kick butt.
Right on. Another hero, David Gilmour, guitarist of Pink Floyd.
All right. Another one for me, Ted Lasso of the hit TV show Lasso. It is, I don't have to say anything else.
For me again, Evel Knievel, who when I was a kid would drive his motorcycle and jump over literally anything they asked him to.
Great. I can't imagine what your childhood was like if that was your hero.
Lots of
trips to the hospital.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, another one for me is Albert Mohler. He's a theologian and just amazing thinker for our time. And man, I wish I was like a tenth as smart as he is.
No doubt. Again, for me, Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs.
Yes.
And just, man, that guy is like so insightful, so relational. Just every time I have a chance to hear him, he just blows my mind.
Batman, because why not? Everybody should want to be Batman. So let's flip it up. Let's go anti-heroes or villains.
Yes.
I don't know, anti-heroes/villains.
Yeah.
Who get us started.
Miley Cyrus.
I got to ask why.
Because you can't make a career at just singing other great songs that other people wrote and recorded. Like, that's all she does, and it just drives me nuts.
That is so true. Her latest one that everybody went like nuts over, I think, was it a Metallica song?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Blondie, everybody, yeah, Pink Floyd. It just, yeah.
I'm with you. For me, sticking kind of in the same entertainment, Johnny Depp. Particularly with all the trials going on, I just need him to be quiet. And what I haven't been able to figure out is the accent that he has, being born in Owensboro, Kentucky, and raised in Florida.
Yes, right?
I just want to start talking in an Irish accent and see if anybody notices.
Another for me, LeBron James. I never really liked his swagger and his attitude. I don't think he's the best. Okay. So we're gonna get some messages. But yeah.
Well, since you brought it up, who is the best basketball player of all time?
I think Jordan.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, you're gonna live well tonight. Staying with the sports, if I had to go with one, it would be Alex Rodriguez for the whole steroid era, and still to this day pretending like he didn't do anything wrong.
Yes. Yeah. How about Putin? Not a fan.
Rightfully so right now, I think. Yes. Going back into the comic book world, Joker. Yeah, I've never been a fan of Joker. I'm glad that, this new Batman series didn't have Joker as the primary character, and I hope that they don't.
But I kind of liked him in the Joker movie. Like, I felt for him.
Yes, in The Dark Knight?
No, in
you're talking,
Phoenix's
yeah.
one.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one because that would make me scared. That's what it is.
A group of villains, politicians. Like, I generally just don't like any of them.
Yes, well, I think I would say the same thing, politicians. So maybe that's just where we end. We can all kind of land on a very positive note
Yes.
in that space. And so today we're talking about leadership and heroes, and there is a new hero in town, and his name is Russ Wilson. I can only imagine 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds like, this is the new cool cat in town. And we are on team Let Russ Cook.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, you're not from Seattle, but you lived a good portion of your life in Seattle.
Yeah.
And so you were there when he was drafted and kind of his rise to exciting quarterback. And the other day you were sharing something a little bit with me about let Russ cook and what happened in Seattle for like the first 3 quarters of the game and then the last quarter. So just share with everybody your Russ Wilson experience and how you hope it to be different in Denver.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, so we were there when he was drafted and as a backup quarterback, and he just worked his tail off and had the attitude. And Pete Carroll went with the shorter, unproven quarterback when he had another guy sitting on the bench.
Now Seattle actually hired who was the quarterback? He came from Green Bay. You guys made a big trade. And brought him over, gave him like a $10 million contract, and then Russ beat him out his rookie year.
Yep.
That neither of us can remember who that guy's name is. Probably.
And I bet it's going to be right below us in the video.
That's right.
As Aiden corrects us.
Yes. I want to say his first name was Matt, but Matt.
It wasn't Matt Hasselbeck.
No, it wasn't Matt Hasselbeck, but the next guy.
Yeah. Gosh,
well, you know what? Aiden will take care of it for us.
So we experienced that and saw for all of our years in Seattle 3 quarters of a running game, and when the running game wasn't quite working and the Seahawks would get down by 20 points in the 4th quarter, they let Russ have the ball, and he would put numbers on the board and always kind of get out of a pinch in ways that you were excited, but you were always nervous because like that wasn't really the strategy.
Yeah.
It was always just like, trusting your instinct. But I think even beyond the field, part of what I loved as a man and as a pastor was just seeing him holistically. Kind of back to my thing with LeBron James and guys like that. Like who they are holistically really matters to me. And Russ in Seattle was legit with his love for the city, his support for other teams, his engagement with the community, like with the Children's Hospital. So even his first week in Denver, it was exciting to see him, go to all the press conferences and stuff. And then him and his family went right to Children's Hospital and started that relationship, which is just really important to me because it's a bigger than, I think he's getting paid pretty well to be here.
It seems like he is currently and will be paid greater in the future for living in Denver. Yes. Yeah. Now, what are you most excited? Because you're now in Denver, and so I'm assuming that you're like, shifting to becoming a Denver Bronco fan.
Oh yeah.
So, you and we have plans already to go watch Russ cook in spring training down at Dove Valley. So, what are you most excited for the Broncos going forward?
Yeah, I think what he and the coaching staff and just team in general it's holistic. That as great of a player as he is and all this, that I mean, even his ability to diffuse attention. I mean, Peyton, and I've kind of always been a Bronco fan because I always respected great quarterbacks of the past, the legacy, all of that, right? Yeah. But I think Russ and the team have this idea of that they're all in it together.
Yeah.
And he does such a great job diffusing that and really building the guys up. And I heard all the stories about Elway and buying his offensive line a steak dinner after they kept him off his rear, It's like that's but that team mentality. I'm excited to see that back and have the Broncos be great again.
Yeah, I think it'll be really fun. And I'm really appreciative how you slid in that you've always been a closet Bronco fan now that you're in Denver. I think that was well played, Mr. Politician. Well played. I've really always loved the Broncos. Yes, being a lifelong Bronco fan, I too am really excited for what Russ brings. And I was a huge Peyton Manning fan. And I remember one of the first times we went down to Dove Valley, a buddy and I went down during spring training. And I told you the story the other day where Peyton Manning was, sitting on the 10-yard line going in for a touchdown, but he had all the ball boys out there. So there was 5 guys lined up, all his wide receivers. And he went to throw it to one of this ball boy, and he missed his mark by 6 feet. The ball boy did. And the pass was incomplete or all that. And I watched Peyton Manning totally dress down this ball boy and kick him off the field and bring another ball boy on. And I was like, wow, that's accountability, all the way through. And so there's been a lot of conversation about Russ's leadership ESPN's ran an article, the Athletics ran an article on the leadership that Russ is bringing to the Broncos. And you have all of these reports and all of these, from offensive linemen to wide receivers of how just being around Dove Valley is different now. For the last couple of years, we've had a bazillion quarterbacks since Peyton retired. But the latest of Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock and with them, okay players, but they didn't quite have the leadership gene or intangibles that really led to success on the field. And we just see how much leadership really matters in life. And I just wanted to ask you the question, keeping it in the football realm. Russ is obviously a great talent, but it's leadership that separates him. And what is it that you see in terms of his leadership that's separating him from, Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater, or what's the difference that you think that makes in the locker room?
Yeah, it's a great question. My gut feeling is that he's about building guys up, because I recently watched the Man in the Arena.
Yeah.
About Tom Brady.
Yes.
And it was interesting, seeing, because I never liked Tom Brady, because as a closet Broncos fan,
yes.
I was just kind of but I respected him.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting seeing him behind the scenes. But man, Tom was hard.
Yeah.
I mean, he was always hard, and it was always like a lot of my heroes growing up, I've always been drawn to men who just get crap done.
Uh-huh.
And his thing was hey, I'm going to always give 110%, and you got to give it.
Yeah.
And Russ pulls that out of guys, but he also builds guys up.
Yeah.
When they're not. Does it make sense? So unlike a Lance Armstrong, who I love forever, but Lance's thing was, I'm going to always ride at my best, and as long as you do, you're on my wheel. But as soon as you can't do it, you're just off the team. It's not personal.
Yeah.
And as a young man, I was inspired by that. And then I realized it was that doesn't build people up, right? Because your kids or people you work with, and just life. And I don't bring my best every day.
Yeah.
So how do you walk life with people who just have a bad day? And I think Russ has a way of shaking those things off.
Yeah.
And getting back to work and building toward the win together.
Yeah, and one of the fascinating things is that I don't know if you saw this week, but Melvin Gordon got re-signed to the Broncos, and he actually showed up at OTAs, which is a pretty big deal because they're voluntary workouts, and he's never shown up for anything voluntary.
Wow.
In his time in Denver, and I don't think even in San Diego.
Wow.
If I wasn't getting paid, Gordon didn't show up. But now all of a sudden he did, and I have to think that it's in part because of you're either on the Russ train and there's accountability and you're moving in that direction, or it's man, if you're not I guess what you were saying in the calling up of Melvin Gordon, I think that's probably happened, of him coming to him and saying, hey man, we want you on this.
Yeah.
We want you on this train, and we want to be great together, and this is what it's going to take. I need you to be there.
And you saw firsthand years ago when Manning came here, great, amazing quarterback. And I can't imagine being a receiver who you watched him play for Tennessee or the Colts in high school.
Yeah.
And now you're a receiver for Russ or for Peyton Manning, and he's actually teaching you how to catch.
Yeah.
It's but that mentorship and him pouring into, the whole culture got better with Peyton.
Yes.
But he specifically built into those guys in ways that, I'd love to read a book about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It would be really fascinating. So maybe we turn the conversation a little bit from Russ and the leadership and the Broncos. But before I do, let's just make a lunch bet right here on video. What will the record of the Broncos be? Just regular season record. There's 17 games, in case you forgot that they added one. So what would you say the record is?
Oh, I'm going to say 14-3.
14-3. Okay, well, I was going to go 11-6. So let's just make that bet, and at the end of the year, one of us will buy each other lunch. Deal?
But you always win. It's true. He wins everything.
So sounds like a good deal. All right.
Hey, my name is Matt Manning, and I am the senior pastor here at Crossroads Church, and hopefully you are loving what you're listening to today. If you are, we would love for you to go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. You can leave us a comment. We read all of them. And if you like it, we'd love for you to share this with a friend. Every week we get together as a church to celebrate what God is doing, and you can join us every Sunday at 8:30, 10, and 11:30 online or in-house. Let's get back to the podcast.
All right, let's move on to our own leadership. So you and I value leadership, obviously. One of the quotes that I mentioned last podcast that still sticks with me is from Maxwell, that everything rises and falls on leadership. And I see that so true on the football field, in sports and business world, certainly in church as well, that God has given gifts of leadership. And part of our stewarding of that gift is to make sure that we are invested in and investing in others when it comes to leadership. And so you and I, along with all of our staff, actually, we were just kind of on a faster track, have gone through 52 weeks of leadership training. And we just graduated 3 weeks ago.
It did.
Yeah, and we had some steak sandwiches to celebrate. It was really great. But part of that leadership journey has been learning different tools of leadership. And one of the ones that's probably been most significant for our team that in our last podcast we actually talked about a little bit was the 5 gears and the significance and just how practical that is. In fact, we're doing a whole sermon series on using the 5 gears in relationship to God. And just as like a quick refresher, like the 5 gears are all built on cars. It's all about how our life flows, particularly in terms of relationship. And so if you think of shifting gears, you have reverse, which is really kind of that repentance or apologies. It's, when you're backing stuff up. Then you have gear 1, which is recharge and rest. Gear 2, the connected mode. Gear 3, social mode. Gear 4, task mode. Gear 5, focus mode. And so in your leadership, talk about a little bit about just how you've used this gear in your own life, and then kind of end that question with what is the easiest gear for you to be focused in as a leader, is just really as a person.
Yeah. So that a tool was incredibly eye-opening and painful too, because it served as a mirror of some of my blind spots.
Yeah.
Just with my personality, it's like if you give me 5 gears in reverse, like I'll just stick it in 4th or 5th gear and drop some super glue in it. Like I don't need the other gears, right?
How
like,
fast can I go?
Seriously. Like, why do you use the other ones? Like, why would you ever need to slow down? And realizing how being unaware of those other gears has caused me in relationships, in opportunities to grow with others, to just miss people.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of ways, it was a painful process because I realized how I can step into a room and I like you and we're going to get after it. So let's get after it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can blow right past. How are you doing?
Yeah.
How's the family? But deep down, I care about those things, and it's going to come out in our conversations somehow.
Yeah.
But man, I just want to drive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the initial process was really painful. Seeing that about myself, and then going back and realizing some damage done.
Yeah.
And having to or making plans to address those things. But then it was exciting to realize the health that flows from shifting down and being in different gears, and just understanding this person doesn't need me to solve their problems. They just need me to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I had something similar. You and I, in terms of personality, are pretty similar. In the giant voices, you are a pioneer guardian. I'm a pioneer creative. But that first voice is so important because it's strategic. It's driven, right? Success, like the win, is what we're after. And I think I would say the same thing, that as we walk through many of the giant tools, because part of giant is know yourself to lead yourself, and knowing yourself, particularly as two driven individuals, right? Who are like, let's run through that wall. Well, some things might fall on other people. We're going through the wall. It was really hard to kind of to see and to go through. And I think, like you, the gear that's easiest for me to live in actually is gear 5, where I'm just like deeply focused on a project. And when I am, the whole world just kind of shuts off.
Yeah.
And I live in that space a lot. And I started to notice it in some interesting ways as we were going through this. So typically people in church or wherever, just, regular living life, if someone comes up to me, typically the first thing that they'll say out of their mouth is, look, I know you're really busy. Whether I'm busy or not, oftentimes I'm thinking, oh no, I got space or time or whatever. But the first thing that they always say is like, I know that you're so busy. And what I started to realize about myself is that I am so focused. Like I'm in that gear 5 so much that very rarely do I turn it off the blind. Like I'm just in that mode, that zone, and people see that.
Yeah.
And so when they come up, they see that I'm deeply focused on whatever it is that I'm doing. And so the assumption is that I'm busy. When the reality is I'm just in that gear 5. And unless somebody before this shook me and rattled me out of it, it was, I didn't come out very often, pedal to the metal. And so funny story, Saturday, before Easter, we were preparing around the church and getting stuff ready. And I was looking for something that we needed. And so I was like in gear 5, I'm going to find this, it's we got 35,000 square feet of building. I will look on every square foot to find this. And so we had volunteers everywhere, and I'm just like, right, like through the hallways and stuff. And I came down these stairs, and 2 great volunteers like stopped me and clearly wanted to have a conversation. And I was just like, blew right by them. And then like the whole know yourself to lead yourself, like clicked in. And I was like, crap, like, oh, like here's 2 people that like actually wanted to connect with me, and I just blew by because I'm in gear 5. And so I like shifted really quick, and I said, hey, I am really focused right now on finding something. I'll be back.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm off, I'm going to, and then I returned my promise. I came back, was able to, but like that just moment of just like cringeworthy, like like, am I ever going to get this?
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So when it comes to like the other side, that knowing yourself and knowing that you and I both, like to spend a lot of time in gear 4 or gear 5, what is one of the gears that you're intentionally trying to shift into more often and really focus on in your life right now?
Yeah, really gear 1, just rest. And we at Crossroads talk a lot about Sabbath.
Yes.
And about resting. And it's not a very American idea. I mean, even our vacations are pretty intense culturally, right? Like we
get all the stuff done in the city.
Totally, right? Yeah.
Do you ever find it interesting that when you go on vacation, you visit all the cool stuff in the city, but the city that you live in, you rarely make it to the cool stuff?
Seriously, yeah.
Like I've visited so many stadiums across America, being on vacation. Like, hey, I'm gonna go check out whatever stadium. I have never once taken a tour of Coors Field, the Ball Arena, or I don't know what we call our football field anymore, Mile High.
Yeah. So I mean, learning how to slow down myself, and again, kind of that know yourself to lead yourself. It's a scary question for a lot of us because we realize that we actually don't know ourselves very well. I mean, I've known for a long time. I mean, I'm a musician, and there's a guitar in our living room always, and I just like playing, and it's just kind of doing something with my hands. It's a little goal oriented because I feel like I'm getting a little better every day, right? But
can't turn it all the way off, James.
Yeah, right. But it's soothing for me to just work on a guitar solo or something, or sitting in the sun and just reading a book and just kind of giving myself permission to do that.
Yeah. That's a journey I started to go through in 2018, 2017, 2018, of really finding that rest. And I think today I've really have found a good rhythm of rest. I would say that the gear that I'm learning to shift into more often is 2. So, the other gears are not terribly difficult for me to shift into, but gear 2 seems to be that one. And I don't know what it is about the, intimacy of walking into others or that, but there's a person on staff, and I just shared last week about Mandy Avery. And everybody wants to be on Mandy's team. Everybody wants to be in Mandy's presence. And the reason for that is because she is so good at shifting into gear 2. And when you're with her, you just know that she's for you.
Yeah.
And, she always greets people with their name. Like, she just walks through life in such a way that she's present enough to really see other people and allow them to be who they were created to be.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I go, man, God, would you teach me to step out of the focus mode so much in my life and just learn to be present with people, just where people go, man, I love hanging out with Matt because, man, I can just be who I am. Like, he's safe.
Yeah.
And for me to be so present that that learning people's names is not difficult. You know, it's not like I'm doing like some secret trick to learn someone's names, but I'm just so present with them that I just remember their name because of the presence that I have with them. I think so oftentimes when it comes to people's names, I've been thinking a lot about this, is that we're so focused on what we're going to say next or how we're going to contribute to the conversation or answering the question that someone's bringing to us, right, in an initial interaction, that we never actually take the time just to be present with people. And so the name is so far down the list of, you know, in priority of what I am trying to do.
Yeah.
That we just forget. And yet the names that we have, like, studies have been shown of how different parts of our brains light up when we hear our names. That there's something deeply personal and intimate about that, just knowing someone's name. And so, you know, last couple of weeks, God's really impressed that upon me and just trying to go, okay, like, I just want to walk in presence. Like on Sunday morning when I'm not preaching and I'm out here, intentionally shift into gear 3 or even into gear 2 and just be present with people.
Yeah. And in our personalities as pioneers, right? I mean, like we do care about people, and because of our drivenness, like some of my biggest heartache in this process is having people close to me say, I know you like working with me.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you not taking the time to connect at that deeper level, like people can feel like cogs very quickly, and it breaks our heart, right? Because
Absolutely.
we do care about people and we love having them in our life.
Yep.
But not taking the time to shift down and saying that or letting our time and our body language communicate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we certainly learned a lot, and we could spend weeks and weeks and weeks talking about what we've learned through Giant and the different tools that we're using. But if you do want more information on Giant, you can go to giant.tv. If you're looking for the coach that James and I used, he was on the last podcast. Todd is his name, and you can find him actually at giant.tv/TK Consulting, and that gets you in contact with him. But or you can also tune into our series that we're doing in church right now called Shifting Gears, where we're talking about this not in relationship to one another so much, but in relationship to God. And so those are a few of the resources that you can have for yourself if you want to go deeper with this topic. James, as always, good to see you.
You as well.
All right, go Broncos.
Right on.
Look forward to my lunch on January 15th of 2023.